Hi, and welcome to Belly, the podcast that helps international B2B companies enter the US and leverage trade shows and help get traction and scale. So today we're here with Laura.hannan from Pitch One to One. Welcome, Laura.
Hi, Bill. Nice to see you.
Great to see you as well. And so, we're working all with international companies that are coming into the US, and our topic is really around leveraging LinkedIn pre and post event. But before we hop specifically into that, let's talk about maybe some of the advantages for using LinkedIn when you're crossing borders. What are some of the things that LinkedIn is such a massive tool and it's such a powerful tool, but what are some of the things or reasons why companies that are internationalizing, what can they leverage through LinkedIn that would create some efficiencies?
Well, you can build your network in any country you want. And, for anybody coming into the US, then, it's the most amount of users on LinkedIn are in the US. So there's no shortage of people. The best thing about when we've worked with other companies that are wanting to start having new business conversations, it used to be that you would have to set up a whole sales function and a sales office and get all of that established. Whereas we've worked with companies where you can connect with them, the people that you want to work with. You can say, hey, we're coming over, and actually people are really welcoming. They go, great, when you get here, look me up, let's have a coffee. And so you can actually say, hey, I'm coming over next week, let's have that coffee. And you can create one or two business meetings and then tell the rest of your network, hey, I'm coming over next week, how about we have a meetup while I'm over here. And because your time is limited and you're just going over for a short period of time then coming back, people, you're going to get that sense of urgency that you can get for setting up meetings. And so I would see LinkedIn as being one of the really early activities that you can do, like even before you've done the rest of the stuff. Just start building that network and getting people lined up so that when you do arrive, you can have those face-to-face business chats.
That makes total sense. And it might even be a great way to test interest, right? So you can, do the detailed search to find the, sort of those specific individuals you want to connect with, and before you even make a commitment. It totally makes sense. Well, that's such a great segue to our topic. So I'm literally, last night I flew in from Las Vegas. I came from the CES, the Consumer Electronics show in Vegas. So
how was that?
It was good. It's a smaller show this year than in past years. Normally they're between 150 and 200,000 attendees, and this year probably more in the 50,000 to 70,000 range. So it's quite a bit different field, but there was incredible actual international presence there. And I'm just thinking about the companies that are attending that and coming in from overseas, and maybe we can dive into talking a little bit about what they could have been doing, and probably many weren't. As you and I know, this is something that it's a new muscle that people are learning how to exercise. So what it's thinking about the 30 days beforehand, what are some of the strategies, and maybe it's even 60 days beforehand, give us some ideas there, but what are some of the things that you would suggest somebody coming over to an event that, you think of the investment of time and money, and maybe you have multiple team members, and there's a significant sort of cost to that. So how might we use LinkedIn to really kind of leverage that investment?
I think that whether you're an exhibitor or a delegate, there's the reason that you're going to an event is to network, to have conversations with people. And people are, when they go to an event, they've got that open mind that maybe at other points in the year they don't have that. They're open to having a chat, having a quick 15-minute coffee, and and your common ground is that you're at the same event and you're in a similar space, and hey, let's see where it takes us, because that's kind of, that's networking, right? So I know that there is quite a sort of business that goes around in sort of selling delegate lists and things like that, and I'm not too sure about the effectiveness or accuracy in some of those. If you manage to get hold of a genuine delegate list, then I would get connected in with those people and be selecting those that you'd really love to meet with and suggesting a meeting before you even get there. Get that booked into your calendar. But you can second guess who's going to be at an event in other ways. So you can look at the exhibitors, and if any of the exhibitors are relevant to you, you can have a good guess at who's likely to be at the show, or maybe get referred on to other people that are going to be at the show. If it's a smaller event, it could also be backed by a LinkedIn event. So, on a company page that you have those events now, and you will have been invited to loads of them. So get invited to a LinkedIn event. So, I mean, they wouldn't have one for, your big show in Las Vegas, but they might have one for something like the B2B Marketing Expo or something like that. So I would always check to see if there is a version of who's attending on LinkedIn, because if you say that you're attending as well, then you get to see everybody else, and you get instant access to their LinkedIn profiles. And it's incredibly effective to connect with people who are attending the same event as you. Hey, ahead of the to use the same example, hey, ahead of B2B marketing, it'd be really good to connect. If you go to that LinkedIn event and the event's already been, and they didn't meet you there, whether you went or not, it's much less effective. So you should definitely do it well before the event. Now, I have actually done it where I had no intention of going to the event, just in order, because I could see that the topic was relevant, and I wanted to get connected to those people who are likely to go to events, because I had my plan to organize my own event later. You have to be really careful with this, because there are some automation tools where you can like scrape event attendees and then message them. And I'm not anti that completely, but what I am against is stealing your competitor's prospects. So if it's a direct competitor that's gone to all of that effort to get those attendees, it's a bit rude to scrape them and then steal them. I'm not condoning that at all, but it can be quite effective to find people who have the same topic interest. And then, if you're then going along to an event, whether it's your event or somebody else's, you could say, hey, great to connect. I'm going along to this. Are you going along to that one as well? And it can be another way of, getting people along to the same event as you and getting to meet up with them there.
That makes sense. So you brought up something about buying mailing lists from events. Yeah, that's actually a topic of our next podcast. So we'll put that in the parking lot for the moment, because that's a whole nother sort of kettle of fish. Yeah, it's interesting you talked about going to the event page, and I would imagine actually a lot of these events are run by organizations, either companies or associations that have their own company page. Is that like a first place that you would start? Is you mentioned going to the other exhibitors, so that's certainly one sort of pathway. And then the organization that's hosting the event also might have quite a bit of conversation going on pre and post event. But would you also go to their page?
Yeah, I would, mainly to see if they've also done a LinkedIn event, because then I would get the attendees. A lot of events have hashtags, and so you can search for the hashtag of the event, and then you can see other people who are posting. Very often that's the exhibitors, but you do get some delegates as well, so you can find people who are going to that event. I also use an intent platform, so that if anybody on any sort of social platform is talking about going to the event, I can get that notification as well. Yeah, so I think that getting in touch with people before the event, it doesn't have to be 6 weeks before, a month before, because very often people are just getting in the mood the day before, on the morning. And so, like, don't feel that it's too late to send that message, because, that, if they have a bit of downtime and they start looking at their messages. I mean, obviously, if you go to one of those events like Web Summit, where you've got all of the delegates in the app and you can message anybody you like, that's absolutely brilliant. And you should still use LinkedIn. You should still get connected with them, because once that event's gone, it's all gone and you've lost it. So you've got to double up with LinkedIn, because you want that long-term relationship, staying front of mind, and all the other good stuff that you get from LinkedIn.
Yeah, that is such a frustrating part of event apps, isn't it? That it sort of perishes. And I don't know, it would be so cool if LinkedIn developed that capability that you could, sort of connect with people. And I know you have that proximity capability to connect with people, but it doesn't seem like many events yet are advising people to use that.
Yeah, well, I think if the LinkedIn API had a little bit more functionality available in it, then it might make those apps a little bit more sort of, if it fully integrated into LinkedIn and connecting in with LinkedIn, then that would be really cool.
Sure. So maybe just even to back up for a second, thinking about who somebody might want to meet at an event. So obviously, the most obvious, maybe customers, investors, strategic partners, channel partners, maybe potential employees or team members. They're such a broad variety. So it's not, I think what we're talking about here isn't really limited to sort of one opportunity. It's sort of thinking probably, and help me here, but probably the first thing to do in this process is think about, who do you want to meet and why? And then from there, how what resource or source you go to find them and make the connection. Because I know in our case, quite often we're speakers, the people who are providing content, besides the exhibitors, end up really being very good connections as well. But do you have thoughts about that?
I think that you've always got a goal for why you're going to that event. And I think that sometimes there's so many shiny, interesting and exciting things when you go to the event, you can lose sight on why you were there in the first place. So yeah, staying focused is a good idea, because actually if you have the full delegate list, you can connect to absolutely everybody, or you could be a bit more selective about it, and you might then be able to follow up with them all. Whereas if you just do a massive blast, you might end up having a great time, but not necessarily focusing in on the people that you really want to see. And in the end, when you look back at an event, it's usually made by, a few people, a few really good connections that are really valuable to you, and that's what you walk away with. For most people, and whether that's an investor or a new customer or a new partner, that's it might be a variety of those things. But if your goal is, I need to get 2 pieces of business to justify the cost for going to this event, then that should really be your focus. Yeah. When you're at the event itself, I think that, like if you're wanting to learn, and then you're going from stand to stand. Whereas if you're wanting to get in front of prospects, you're not going to sell to them at their own stand. You want to try and organize coffees and stuff when, like, off the stand, because people don't really like that when you go up and sell to them on their stand when they've paid a fortune to be there. And I think that if you can be a little bit fun when you're at the event, that goes a really long way. And one thing I've only just recently started doing, and I can't believe that I have missed these opportunities in the past, is taking photographs, like when you're at the event, with the people that you meet and the things that you see, and then putting that up as a LinkedIn post as soon as possible, just sort of keeps that, it sort of re-engages the people that you've met. And as cheesy as it sounds, a selfie goes a really long way, because put a post up of a photo of yourself on LinkedIn, and guess what? The views go up, and so does the engagement and stuff like that. So, real photographs go a long way.
We are always amazed by that, how much photos make a difference, and particularly photos of people, and that, and tagging them and all that. But the number of interactions that happen because of photos, it's huge. So that's awesome.
Yeah, the algorithm also gives you a bit of a help with that, though, because if you have a text post with one image, and then you add in several more images, then you'll get 150% of the reach than just one image. So take more. And if you can be bothered, a document post, with a PDF or a slideshow where it does that, and the fact that people are clicking through because they can't help but see the next picture really helps the algorithm. So document posts get 250% of the reach. So the trick is, get your photographs, go onto Canva, choose the LinkedIn post square thing. It's already made for you. Throw your pictures on it, maybe a bit of text and jazzy it up a bit, and then download it as a multi-page PDF, and then upload that as a post, and you will get lots more reach naturally. But then you tag in the people who are in the photographs, and they will feel compelled to comment, which then helps it'll go really, really far. And I would see the purpose of that. I mean, it's keeping you front of mind with your whole network, but it's another way to re-engage with the people that you met at the show, and another way to easily spark up that conversation again.
Yeah, no, that's such a great idea. Cool. I'm going to test that because I haven't done that before, but smart stuff. So Canva, use the LinkedIn template, and then essentially populate a multi-page PDF with content. And I think I would say most of the people sort of in our orbit and that would be listening to this are selling to enterprise or larger companies. So for them, getting lots of contacts isn't the objective. It's getting high quality, sort of, very much more precise. So having that intimacy that you're talking about is so much more important than we don't need a sort of the shotgun approach. So no, that really resonates. And so let's maybe shift gears just a little bit and talk about, and I think we've sort of segued to it, but talk about sort of post-event. So we've met these folks, and so that the relationship building, and obviously the goal is to, build our level of knowledge of each other, but also at the same time, that intimacy and trust. And that, how do you balance, I guess, the idea of, sort of tagging people and having the relationship on LinkedIn. At some point, it probably needs to convert to more to email and setting up times to talk and meet and things like that. How do you sort of manage that process?
I would say that it's always got to be a blend. So getting connected to them on LinkedIn is kind of your safety net, right? So once you're connected, you're very rarely unconnected unless you do something really badly wrong.
They're not going to be a customer if that happens.
Take the hint. But the good thing about your LinkedIn profile, if you've got a good profile, is that it reminds them of you and also gives them a bit more information about you, which breaks down the trust barriers. So if you've put in a little bit about your personal experiences, professionally, or just, some things that they might find out about you or remind them about you, then it's really great to get connected in. And for those, if you're doing new business, you're going to have some really hot ones and you're going to have some less hot ones, right? So you want to be calling and emailing with all of your hot ones sort of immediately, because people quickly forget, don't they? Just like get on them, don't let them forget about how brilliant you are. But I always, day one after a show, I get connected into absolutely everybody. Even if I don't have that follow-up conversation with them on LinkedIn, I just make sure that everybody's connected, because then you've got different channels. So if it's your hottest lead and then they're ghosting you, maybe they're a bit busy, maybe they've gone on a bit of a holiday after the show, and then you come across as desperado because you've left 3 voicemails or you've sent 10 emails, and you're just about to send your goodbye email. Actually, if you mix up the channels, it's far less chasey, isn't it? It's just like, because then you can send a LinkedIn message, say, hey, I've sent you a couple of emails, haven't got through, just checking. And then they see you, go, oh, that's who that email was from. Now I'm connecting the dots because your face is on your email profile, and it's on, and then they remember you from the show, and then they see themselves in your post, and it all comes back to them. I think it is. We've all done it, right? We've gone to a show, and I'm very vigilant about the things I've seen that I want to follow up on. Not everybody is, and there'll be a couple of things that stand out at the end of the day that they might be proactive on. But particularly if you're being sold to, unless it's something that's really going to, it's your absolute top priority, you might go, yeah, I'll catch up with that next month, and because I'm a bit busy right now. And it all fades away, how great it was, your service. And it's your job to keep that front of mind, and LinkedIn is an absolute crucial part of that, but it's not the only part. Email, calling, everything else still, tweet them, WhatsApp them, whatever you need to do.
Send up flares.
I sound terrible, don't I? Chase them, but just chase them on all channels. And you can be clever about it. You can say, just checking my email. My email got through to you because you've not replied. Things like that.
Right. Yeah. I suppose the metaphor of thinking about the relationships, those early young relationships, almost like fruit on a fruit stand. It looks beautiful on day one, and every day it just sort of it goes bad. And so how do as you said, don't be a desperado, but be a thoughtful and diligent. Well, because I know in my own circumstance, I know people have really complimented me in terms of, gosh, I really appreciate that you didn't let this go. And so I think quite often that, people do whether it's the 2 or the 3 follow-up rule, and then they forget it. But you sort of assume at that point that somebody's not busy and they're just waiting for your email. On the other hand, most people are busy and they're not generally waiting for your email or your message on LinkedIn. So I think there's I'm sure a very delicate balance in that. I
think it's a smart thing to do, is to block out your calendar the day after a big event, just so that you can, like, that night, the next morning, that you're straight onto it. Because there's all sorts of stats about, if you have a sales meeting, even people only remember 3 things that you've said in the end, so imagine how little people remember from a 10-minute chat that you've had at a show. So
we have sort of 2 strategies with that depending on the event and sort of our bandwidth. But our best action is actually the night of each, if it's a multi-day event, the night of each event is to follow up with the people that evening. And it's usually all pre-written, ready to go, but you kind of tweak it for each one. Again, aiming at few really good ones rather than a million really bad ones. And the other would be actually, and we've done this in some circumstances, is actually stay at whatever city that is an extra day and don't leave until the follow-up's done. Or even have some additional meetings
during the show.
Or that the day after. There can be I think you have to think of the perishability of those relationships and all that. So and
it can be quite good if you're there with a number of colleagues and you think that perhaps you're with the business founder and you're not the business founder yourself. That actually, if the business founder connects in to say, hey, I hear you had a really good conversation with Laura, would be good to connect. That's Like, it's not the business founder calling you up and saying, hey, I want your business, or, I'm leaving it to Laura to do the follow-up as you've agreed, but I'm just connecting with you. And that is where LinkedIn really comes into its own, because it's not direct. You can contact with multiple stakeholders without it looking too hard and heavy. But then they have all of these other opportunities to see how great your business is and what you're doing, not just you and your 10-minute chat.
That's a super smart idea, and it really elevates the importance of that relationship when, in addition, particularly the founder gets involved and says, hey, I'm aware of the conversation and we're excited to build a relationship. That's super, super smart. Well, good. I'm sensitive to time, and obviously we've covered a lot of really great ground. But is there sort of anything you think we missed, or sort of from a big part of this topic around leveraging LinkedIn for events?
No, I think you touched on it slightly, and that is to be persistent, politely persistent. There's a lot of follow-up after a show, and you might not be their top one to be back in touch with, but don't give up. If you felt like it was good on the day, it'll probably still be good a few weeks later. I know we talked about time, but if you've not managed to get that second follow-up or third follow-up, then Bill, you do a great job with continuing to follow up, and that's key, isn't it?
Yeah, I have a short memory, so that helps. Yeah.
We met at a show, remember?
We did. We met on a bus going to a show at Web Summit.
Yes.
with a couple of your team members. No, that was fantastic for sure. So yeah, no, you're and there were 70,000 people, so the chances of meeting were very limited. And there were probably 100 people on the bus, so also limited.
yeah, and here we are, still in touch.
Exactly. No, super good. Well, this has been fantastic, Laura. I really appreciate you taking the time. These nuggets, I think, have really set the stage for people to do much better with LinkedIn. So let's talk a little bit about your practice, just so people know what you do, and also we'll make sure to put your contact info in the description as well. But do you want to describe a little bit what you do to help companies?
Sure. Well, we're all about Twitter. No, just kidding.
And the challenge is you just don't have a good sense of humor. Yeah.
We're all about LinkedIn. We're all about LinkedIn. So we do LinkedIn for you. Your personal LinkedIn profile, build your personal brand, grow your network, post as you have conversations, and then bring it off LinkedIn so that you can deepen the relationship on a video call. So that's what Pitch One-to-One. We do it for you, and I do a little bit of LinkedIn training as well.
Fantastic. Well, this is great. So thank you so much for taking the time. This has been really good, and we'll look forward to, if you're okay with it, continuing to engage you on these wonderful LinkedIn topics.
Anything about LinkedIn, yeah, anytime.
That's wonderful.
Can't shut me up about LinkedIn.
and then expanding a course to Twitter at some point, but no, kidding. Thank you, Laura, so much.
All right, bye for now.
Bye for now.